Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Wise versus the World is usually a show where we get a bunch of people talking their asses off about things they may or may not know about. Today, however, we're going to get one guy in here because we have a very special occasion. Mr. Tony Dunst, a child of the online generation, has been announced as the host of the WPT's new segment, The Raw Deal. It's a very big deal. Congratulations, Tony, and welcome. So, folks, basically what we're doing here is a little one-on-one chats with poker's newest TV megastar. It's all very exciting.
It is I am very excited.
You should be. Really, this is a big deal. Do you have any numbers on how many people applied for this thing?
I'm told it was in the area of 150 to 200.
Okay, all right. It's not as many as I was thinking. I was thinking jillions.
Well, I mean, we could throw false numbers out there in order to make it sound more impressive, and I wouldn't tell anybody if you didn't.
Okay, fair enough. So 150,000 to 200,000 it is.
200,000?
150,000 to 200,000, like you said.
Okay.
150 to 200.
Yes, 150,000 people applied.
There you go. Okay.
And I bested them all.
Amazing. You are that slick. Well, no, seriously, congratulations are in order.
Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with a paycheck and exposure for doing things you love to do. That's really what's about to happen to your life, isn't it?
So you're saying I get to keep my soul?
I'm saying you never had one to begin with, you little fucker.
All right, fair enough then.
All right. So let's talk about this a little bit. Tell us how the segment's going to work. What exactly are you doing on the WPT? Will there be twigs and berries involved?
Twigs and berries. What I do know is that I'm going to pop up once or twice an episode to discuss a crucial moment in the broadcast, be it a strategy hand or an interaction between the players. Normally it's going to be something strategy-based, and what they really want is sort of a second opinion from a guy who has been more involved in the goings-ons of the game and thoroughly studying tournament poker for the last few years. Okay.
So, are you going to be doing it in a courteous manner? Are you going to be no holds barred? What's the plan here?
I'm just going to be myself, Gary, which is generally trying to combine a high degree of honesty, attention to detail, and hopefully some wit and playfulness.
All right, so I spoke to Joe Grimm, who's the executive producer of the show, and I got some feeling as to why they chose you. Why did you think they chose you?
Well, I think that they were in a precarious position where they needed a lot of things out of one person, and I think the problem they were generally going to have with a lot of applicants is that they had concentrated entirely on poker and did not necessarily have communication or presentation skills, abilities, or experience, or it was somebody who came from an acting or media background who knew very, very little about the actual goings-on of poker. So my guess is they selected me because they realized there was somebody there who had the potential to fulfill their two largest requirements.
So basically, you bring hardcore poker skills, and you combine that with charisma and the ability and willfulness to speak your mind.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm ready to watch.
To launch?
To watch.
Oh, to watch. I was like, launch? Yeah, let's do it.
I'm not that excited, Tony. It's exciting, but it's not that kind of exciting. Tell me a little bit about how the process that you went through in order to get this gig. Obviously, it wasn't like they just watched you once and they brought you in. Did you go through the online channels that everyone else did, just sort of submitting a video and letting them see you, or what exactly happened?
No, I did not. I didn't submit a video. My agent, Matt Palmer, brought it to me and said, I think this would be a good fit for you, and it's a great opportunity, and I agreed. And I said, unfortunately, I have plans to be on a family trip right around the time that they're doing their interviews, and I see my family like once a year, and this had been set in stone for months. And the WPT said, well, we'd really like to meet you. We're willing to accommodate you with a sort of separate day of interview. We have to sneak a few other people in. So if you don't mind just coming over to L.A. and seeing us in person one afternoon, come on by. And that's what I did. And they said, all right, you've gotten through to the final interview. And I believe there was 6 of us in the final interview. And they had me come back a few days later. And I found out not long after that I'd landed the position.
All right, juicy. Who were the other 5?
I actually have no idea. I have no clue whatsoever, and I'm not even lying this time.
This time. A likely story.
I lied to you. You're all. What's happened with the WPT job? I'm like, I don't know. We'll see.
I'm saying this time, quote unquote.
This time.
Saying this time might just like reinforce the lie.
Yeah.
It's camouflage.
Well, I mean, I briefly was sitting next to one of them, and he did not appear familiar to me. That's what I got.
All right. That was Phil Hellmuth. All right. So, you mentioned your family briefly. What do they think of all this? Is this finally he's getting a real job, or is this good for him? He's already successful, but it's another step.
Finally, he's getting a real job.
So they got pretty excited.
Right the first time around. Finally, he's getting. They're really excited. My mom put this up as her Facebook wall post or something like this. My parents, when I dropped out of school to play poker for a living, were not thrilled at the idea. Over the years, they came to accept how I wanted to live my life, but I think that I acquired a more legitimate position is very much to their liking.
All right. You obviously spend a lot of time playing online poker.
Yes, I do.
You love the game.
You're right, I don't have a life.
I didn't say that.
Well, I don't have a life until you and I get drunk and go do karaoke.
And then you really don't have a life because you have to listen to me doing karaoke. It's a sad state of affairs.
Well, then I wish I didn't have a life because I have to listen to you doing karaoke.
No, you wish you had a life so you don't have to listen. What the hell was I asking you? Okay, you play a lot of online poker, Tony.
Yes, I do.
This is obviously a job that will take you away from that, and we've seen, other guys who have gone into the media side of stuff, and their games have fallen off a little bit. Is this going to eat into your poker time? And is this going to eat into your poker, the resoluteness with which you approach online play?
I can't promise anything because I don't know how much responsibility is going to come with this from opportunities that have yet to present themselves. However, currently, they're not asking for a huge time commitment out of me, and I think part of my position makes it mandatory that I keep up on the strategy goings-ons and the development of poker within our community. So I'm going to put a very high emphasis on still playing a lot of online poker, being active on the forums, making videos for Poker Savvy, and doing everything that I've been doing up to this point that got me in a position that they would actually want to give me this job.
Gotcha. If it were to become enough, if you were to be offered the opportunity to work so much that you wouldn't be able to play so much, would you take that opportunity? Because I only ask that because I know how much you love playing. You are not only playing but being a part of that community, and obviously the more you become the man, the less you become one of the people. And will you allow that to happen to yourself? Are you willing to take those steps?
Well, I don't ever see myself withdrawing from the community in the sense that I would stop posting on the internet, that I would, tell Poker Savvy I don't want to be involved anymore, or that I would quit the communities that I've become a part of. But I could see enjoying my new position to the degree that playing became less important.
Okay. Would you do? No, I'm not even going to ask that. You mentioned Matt Palmer before.
Ask away.
I decided that the question I was going to follow up with was a stupid question, so I'm not going to ask it.
Okay.
You mentioned Matt Palmer before.
Yes.
People don't know Matt Palmer because he's an agent and he stays behind the scenes. But has Mr. Palmer been working on any sponsorship opportunities for you? Obviously, this gives you a lot of exposure. Seems like a party poker who already has Mike Sexton in their in their collective might be an interested party. What do are you looking towards that?
Potentially, and I hope so. I would be happy to work for one of the companies that is legitimate, and I'm more than willing to travel for tournaments than to do media things and do what I can to contribute in my own manner. But I know that Tilt definitely probably had some degree of interest, considering they fought the hardest for me during the World Series main event, and I wore their patch. and I've worked for them before. I was kind of a dickhead to them the first time I worked for them, but they decided to let that go and chase me down in the main event and pursue me. Party, I guess, would definitely be an option, considering, like you said, they own the WPT and they don't have a lot of guys. I'm certainly open-minded about it, but nothing is set in stone.
All right. Are you going to be able to play in WPTs now that you're working for them?
Yes, I am. I believe I not only will be able to, but encouraged.
No conflicts of interest there? No concerns about Tony Dunst being the media and the subject?
Apparently not, because I'm only popping up in a cutaway segment. I don't think it would be a major issue. Plus, I have no qualms about saying that I think I play very badly if I end up on the cast.
Okay, so you're not filming on site. You'll be doing it after the fact in the studio.
Correct.
Okay, so therein lies the lack of a conflict.
Yeah.
So do you have aspirations to further your role in broadcasting? Like, do you hope to one day have like a Sexton-esque gig, or is this really just the perfect niche for you because it's little commitment and doesn't interrupt your tournament play?
I have no idea. I generally don't plan things too firmly. I know what I want to do in terms of how I want to commit my time towards my work ethic and bettering myself, but I don't say, okay, I really want this out of life, that I'm going to be results-oriented, and if I don't get this, I'm going to be unhappy. Listen, if I get a cool and fun job and that opportunity comes my way, great, I'll take it. If not, I'll hang out and play poker. I'll be a happy man. I'm just going to roll with it however it comes.
All right. For many years, I've been saying the WPT has stagnated. They didn't make adjustments to their formatting when they needed to stay current, and as a result, a lot of their viewership kind of advanced beyond what they were offering.
Yeah.
What do you think that your hiring says about their what is your hiring? What does it say about their dedication to change? Does it mean that they are finally now understanding that they are not what they once were, and they are willing to take more drastic steps to become that again?
Well, I think it's certainly a step in the right direction in that they realize that their audience has evolved in a way that they want someone there who can speak on a higher and deeper level of thinking about poker than just the more entertainment aspect of it. I'm not saying that Mike Sexton has failed in any regard in talking strategy about poker, but he's been on the business and media side of things very predominantly for the last 7 years, and now they've got someone who is still very active in nitpicking the slightest pieces of strategy out of a strategy post. And I like to think that I can contribute a greater intellectual approach to the game for the World Poker Tour that's been lacking previously.
Now, I've heard you talk strategy with Lucky Chewy and with Donnie Stern and a couple of the other guys you hang out with.
And by talk strategy, I mostly shut up and listen and learn.
No, you don't. You talk a lot.
Okay, this is true.
But when you talk, I'm listening to Greek. You know, I am a casual player. I enjoy the game. I enjoy some of the strategy that goes beyond what you see on television, but I don't speak that language. Are you going to dumb yourself down a little bit for the broadcasts?
I don't think it's dumbing it down. I think it's being conscious of the kind of words you need to communicate to your audience. For example, I've had an opportunity to work on a book and do some presentation work with Lee Nelson before, and one of the things that he taught me was that you need to craft what you're saying for your audience. So it's both true but also effective for their learning method. So I'm not going to dumb it down, but I'm going to be conscious of the kind of vocabulary and language decisions I make during the broadcast.
Okay. So will you try to educate your viewers about certain terms, just even basic stuff like EV, ROI, so on and so forth? Or will you use English instead?
Potentially, I'm going to probably consult with the WPT and ask them how they would like me to approach that angle.
With your hiring, obviously, I referenced the changes they are making. What further changes would you like to see the WPT make to its formatting?
Well, I'm very happy that they are expanding globally. They are adding more and more stops outside of the United States, which I have quipped before that I'm going to try and make myself indispensable to them so they feel some need to send me there. I like that they are adding a sexier element in the addition of the Royal Flush girls. I'm never going to argue with putting beautiful women at a poker tournament. I like that they have put a greater emphasis on dissecting the game, and by doing this raw deal thing as a cutaway segment and allowing for there to be dissent on the broadcast about the way a strategy hand is presented, I think is very congruent with the way poker is talked about in its modern form, which is usually through the forums where there's, like we said, a lot of dissent.
You mentioned the Royal Flush Girls. When the WPT finished their press conference in July, in which they announced a lot of their changes, and they finished with the Royal Flush Girls, my eyes actually did a 720 in my head, because it sort of indicated to me, it's like, oh, they still think it's just about living large and lots of in hot babes,
I don't think they're saying it's all about that. I think that they are willing to admit that it is partially about that. And
okay,
that very
but
much the poker industry likes to present people who live the flashier side of our industry, if you will, which tends to include, the whole beautiful women side of things, although, as you and I know, they are not exactly prevalent in our industry.
But actually, hasn't poker on television become a niche market, and should they be catering to that then, or should they be focused more on the strategy and on the math and on the tactics of the game?
Why can't strategy have beautiful women with it? That's my question.
Because you can't think about strategy while you're looking at cleavage, Tony.
I disagree. I want to use cleavage as strategy, sir. I did it this
I challenge your skinny ass to use your cleavage as strategy.
Not my cleavage. I use someone else's cleavage. I refer to cleavage.
Okay. Let's talk about your past a little bit.
Okay.
You are just 25 years old, but you have lived a very full life. You have a lot of life experience for that age. I want to talk a little bit about the stuff that I know that our audience may not.
Okay.
You started playing poker seriously at 18.
Yeah.
How does that take you out of the country at 20?
Well, on a 2 or 3K bankroll, I won a trip to Australia to go play in the $10,000 Aussie Millions main event, as well as a second tournament there. And I fell in love with the country, and I ended up cashing in the first event, as well as making a swap that turned out to be pretty profitable for me. So I used that money to come back and pay for a year of some study abroad at La Trobe University in Melbourne. And I met a young woman named Selena Lynn, who I was in a relationship with for about 3.5 years, and she became my reason for staying extended in Australia, on top of the fact that I just think it's the most amazing country and incredible to live in. But, that's how I originally ended up there, sort of a combination of poker, school, and Selena.
So tell me a little bit about the lessons you learned through your exposure thanks to Selena. Obviously, people may not know Selena Lynn on this side of the ocean, but she's a big deal. She's a big deal in Australia. She's a beautiful girl. She's been sponsored by PokerStars for a long time. Tell us a little bit about the lessons you learned through that.
Well, I got to have a pretty first-hand look of the goings-on on the business and sponsorship side of poker. You and I were hanging out with a lot of the people over in the business side of things at PokerStars when we were at the APPT, and that's who Selena was dealing with. And I got to sort of watch her blow up, the kind of responsibilities that came with it, the kind of complications and consequences that came with it, what skills were required of her. At the time, they were discussing the possibility of sponsoring me, and I said, listen, I don't, I told Jeffrey, I said, I don't even have any results, man, don't sponsor me. Selena was perfect for them. It was certainly educational to get a chance to watch it all play out in front of my eyes, and I actually wrote an article about sponsorship a couple of years ago that I put on 2+2, which was half informational and half just having a go at the entire industry.
What kind of a go were you having at the industry? What was it about the industry that was annoying you enough to say?
There wasn't really I wasn't having a go at the industry in the sense that they annoyed me. I was just kind of poking fun at what I see at poker, as I generally do. Nothing about the entire process really annoyed me, and I think that Stars has been good to Selena, and I think that she's been perfect for them. And I don't, for a long time, I don't see any reason why a site should have considered me. I didn't, for a long time, present the kind of results that would make me appropriate for that kind of thing.
The white American male.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So from Australia, you moved to China.
I did.
Was that another Selena-related move?
It was, in fact. Basically what ended up happening is I spent a year in Australia, and I was going to school at the time. I failed to send in some kind of form, which would have apparently renewed my visa. So I wound up overstaying my visa by 5 months, and that is a really bad thing to do in Australia, and many other countries, but especially there. So they banned me for 3 years, and we moved out. Selena was not allowed to immigrate to the United States. And so the only place that we could live that seemed sensible was Shanghai, China, because her mother owned an apartment there. So we moved together there. I dropped out of school in, I think it was December 2006. I dropped out of school. It was my last semester. And I moved off to Shanghai for the next 6 months and then returned to the World Series in '07 and then moved back to Australia.
For the record, I can totally relate. I have not been back to England since I was flown out of the country in 2002.
You were flown out. They gave you a ticket.
Flown out. I returned. They said, no, thank you, go away. They just put me on a plane with armed guards taking me there.
Well, you are kind of a badass.
Experience. Sorry?
I said, well, you are kind of a badass.
Nobody with this hairdo is a badass, my friend.
Have you seen Jason Statham, Vin Diesel, perhaps?
You're right. I am just like Jason Statham and Vin Diesel. All right. So, tell me about the culture shock of coming back to America. It's got to be. Yeah, I know from my experience that Canada looked a hell of a lot different when I came back from England.
It's absolutely, definitely. For a long time, you're culturally isolated as American because we are cultural exporters and not importers, and geographically, we are secluded, whether we like it or not. I know a lot of the world holds it against us for being arrogant or ignorant, and sometimes when I travel, I see Americans behaving this way, and I say, okay, you're why they think of us that way, but also, it's not a lot of Americans' fault that there's this perception because the culture that does get exported is Jersey Shore, or when people, you and I know within our industry that when a lot of international people come to the States, they only come to Vegas, and they see Vegas as America, and this isn't America, this is fucking crazy. As far as coming back to the States, I'll say that I had a beautiful life in Australia, and I have a huge respect for the way they go about things, because the Australians are very similar to the Americans, but they have a sort of nonchalance, and they're much more easygoing and less uptight about things. So I feel almost a little bit as an outsider looking in at my own culture again, having come back 5 years later.
And do you like that culture more now? Or?
I like certain aspects of it. But here's the thing. Is Las Vegas American culture, Gary?
It's the epitome of American culture, Tony.
It's I don't know, it's certainly the tip of the iceberg, but
it's an exaggeration of American culture.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's an exaggeration.
All right. The future, aside from this gig, we touched on it earlier, playing in this gig and the opportunities it could lead to and so on. Do you see yourself as a poker player for years and years and years to come?
Hell yeah. I love my job.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can you ever make enough money to stop, to lose the incentive? Like, say you were to build your goal to $10 million.
Okay.
Okay? Let's just choose that number.
Mm-hmm.
Would you still have the incentive to pursue greatness in this game? Would you still find yourself challenged by it? Or
I wouldn't be grinding long hours.
A gentleman explorer.
More along those lines. I would rather do something like that and mix in poker. If I have $10 million, I'm not going to sit on my computer and play a $100 freeze out. Sorry, I don't feel too much like a sellout, but I would never stop playing. This is just felt right for me for the last 7 or 8 years. I've never questioned it. I just have way too much fun doing it to ever quit. So would I push myself constantly to be the best player that, well, I can't say that I've constantly done that, but recently I've been pushing myself. Would I keep pushing myself really hard to be the best player that I could? No, but I would never stop playing.
All right. Before we finish this off, I have designed specifically for you in your fast-talking ways an exercise I call Rapid Fire. It's a very original name. Wow.
No worries.
Wow, you just did a whole Requiem of a Dream thing.
I know.
That's awesome.
Just wait till the video I shoot up heroin into my fucked up vein.
You are truly a dynamic man, let me tell you. All right, so with Rapid Fire, what's going to happen is I'm going to name a person or an entity, and I want you to give me your first impression back when you hear those names said, okay? So, to start Rapid Fire, Phil Hellmuth.
Ridiculous.
Barry Greenstein.
Smart.
Tom Dwan.
Aggressive.
Luke Schwartz.
Socially retarded.
Mark Voss.
Drunk.
Phil Ivey.
Stare.
Poker sponsorships.
Patches. That's the first thing I think of. You just gotta wear a patch. What's that? Isildur?
Yes, sir.
What do I think of when I think of Isildur? I saw his Photoshop thread yesterday. That was hilarious. You know what the perfect one was? The one with his face photoshopped onto Scarface, gun in hand, coke all over him. That was Isildur. It was money. That's what I think of when I think of Isildur.
He refused the interview at World Series Poker Europe when he got knocked out in 11th. Should he have done the interview?
If he wanted to. If he wasn't in the mood and he thought he would probably say mean-spirited or emotionally irrational things, then no, he shouldn't have taken the interview. I mean, it's up to him. He might not have any interest in interacting with the poker media ever, and if not, he doesn't have to, but if he wants to become better known and if he wants a better foothold in the industry, then yes, he should take it.
All right, back to Rapid Fire. Jungle Man.
Jungle Man? He pissed off our balcony at Surrender.
Nice.
I'll tell that story in the next episode.
Breaking news!
The guy was so kicked out. They were so angry at him.
So much for Jungle Man sponsorship options. Daniel Negreanu.
He seems really nice. I've never met him, but he seems really nice.
Vipper.
Oh, I don't have much interaction with Viffer, but I was at a club sober once, and I saw him making it rain with a huge wad of $1 bills, and then some kid tried to reach across the little rope to grab the $1 bills, and Viffer almost punched him.
The World Series of Poker.
Fun, awesome, I love it.
Mike Sexton.
Mike Sexton? Announcer. That's the first thing I always think of.
Vince Van Patten.
Bingo, bango, bongo.
Kimberly Lansing.
She's beautiful.
Matt Savage.
Great at his job.
Tony Dunst.
Suit.
And so concludes the first ever Rapid Fire on Gary Wise vs. the World. I deem this the greatest segment of all time.
I dig it.
All right. Tony,
we are say some really stupid shit with that.
Well, yeah, as opposed to talking about random high-stakes players pissing off of balconies.
I like to think it was of intellectual quality you will long to match with your future guests.
Nice. I like that. You really are ready for television. Good for you. All right. Before we sign off, I want to give you a chance to hawk your wares. I know that you're obviously doing this WPT thing.
Yep.
You mentioned Poker Savvy earlier. Tell us a little bit about that and about anything else that you're doing that you want people to know about.
I make training videos for Poker Savvy Plus, predominantly multi-table tournament videos, as well as a few cash game videos. And there's a number of other instructors there who I think are excellent. My blog is over at Card Player, and I'm probably going to I had my own website. I forgot to pay the domain, $1 or whatever it was. I'm going to get something new set up. I recently joined Twitter, where I'm Bond_18, and you can just find me on Facebook as Tony Dunst.
I am one of your 5 followers on Twitter. I'm very excited about Bond_18.
Ooh, you're one of my first ones, huh?
Well, your first tweet thanked me for the article on ESPN, so how could I not?
How could you miss?
So, folks, there you go. If you want to know a little bit more about Tony and about what's going on with this WPT thing, go to ESPN.com/poker. Check out the call about him. Otherwise, I'm pretty much done. Do you have anything that you want to add before we peace out?
No, I think we covered it.
All right. Peace out.
All right, great, Gary. Take it easy.
Cheers.